Hi.
Hi.
This one's for horror fans. This is 1985's Re-Animator. I'm Jay Harangue and I've wasted hours of my life watching terrible films.
You should subscribe.
We start at the University of Zurich. There are noises coming from this room and it sounds like Dr. Hans Gruber is in trouble.
Come again?
Yeah, this is before Die Hard. So the police break in and they see Herbert West stood over Dr. Gruber, who appears to be having some sort of seizure. Okay, it's clearly not a seizure because his head explodes.
You killed him.
No, I did not. I gave him life.
At an unspecified time later, at this university hospital in Massachusetts, we meet Dan Kane. He's a medical student and he's just lost a patient, so he's taking the body to the morgue. It's here we meet Dr. Halsey, the dean of the university, and look who he's got with him, Herbert West, who from now on I'm just going to call West. Dr. Halsey tells Dan that West was doing research with Dr. Gruber in Switzerland, but now he's dead, West will be joining his class.
What were you researching? Death.
Also hanging out in the morgue is Dr. Hill. West's like, I know you, Dr. Hill. Your research is shit. Strange way to introduce yourself to one of your new teachers.
Yep.
But anyway, while West is playing with dead people's feet, Dan asked Dean Halsey if he'll write him a letter of recommendation for the very prestigious Wellman Scholarship, and he agrees.
I was going to suggest that you apply. It's a very prestigious scholarship, Dan.
Dan's looking for a roommate to live with him in his depressing house and posts an advert on this board. Here we meet Dan's girlfriend Megan. They start kissing, go back to Dan's house and then they bang. After they finish, we find out that Dan has a cat.
Oh, Rufus.
Hi, Rufus.
Dan asks Megan to move in with him, but she can't. Why? Well, Megan is Dean Halsey's daughter, and even though Dean Halsey knows about their relationship and likes Dan, she still can't move in because A, Dean Halsey is very traditional, and B, because plot. As Megan is leaving, West is at the door. He's come to see the room Dan advertised. He asked to see the basement, and it's perfect.
I have my things outside. Shall I move in now?
Why do you sound so desperate?
He's a creep.
Megan thinks West seems a bit creepy, but Dan needs the money, so he agrees to let him move in. The next day in class, Dr. Hill's telling the students that once a person is dead, the brain can only survive for 6 to 12 minutes.
6 to 12 minutes.
Yeah, West disagrees with that, and he makes sure he lets Dr. Hill know after class.
How can you teach such drivel?
Dr. Hill's like, oh, fuck off, West, you creepy little shit.
It's going to be a pleasure to fail you.
That night, Dr. Hill is at dinner with Dean Halsey and Megan. Megan needs to leave soon because she has a date with Dan, but Dr. Hill wants Megan for himself, so he tries to discourage her from leaving. After she leaves, Dr. Hill tells Dean Halsey to get Megan away from Dan because he suspects Dan's only dating her to get the Wellman Scholarship. Oh yeah, and he lives with West.
I think he's deranged, dangerous.
Cut to Dan's depressing house where he and Megan are discussing how creepy West is. Megan's like, Dan, he's a freak. Even the cat hates him. Hang on, where is the cat? So they both search the house for Rufus. Megan eventually finds Rufus dead in the fridge in West's room. West comes home and he's like, what are you doing in my room? And Megan calls out for Dan. When Dan comes in, he's like, okay, West, why is my cat dead in your fridge?
It was dead when I found it.
Bullshit.
It knocked the garbage over and it got its head stuck in a jar.
Megan's like, this is bollocks. He's obviously killed the cat. Dan's like, what's this liquid I found in the fridge next to my dead cat? And West's like, it's none of your business. Now get out of my room or I'll tell Dean Halsey that you two are having sex. So Dan grabs his dead cat and puts it in the garbage. May as well have left it in the living room. Wouldn't have affected the aesthetic.
True.
That night, Dan is woken up by horrible noises coming from the basement. When he gets down there, he sees West being attacked by a black cat. Dan decides to help West, so goes after the cat with a baseball bat. Finally, Dan gets the better of it and throws it against the wall. Dan's like, hang on, that's my cat. It was dead when I threw him in the trash earlier. But West explains that he's discovered the secret of reanimation and says he needs Dan's help.
We can achieve every doctor's dream. We can defeat death.
I don't know about you, but I'm not sure I could so quickly get over the fact that my cat had died, let alone that he'd been likely murdered by my housemate, who brought it back to life, so I had to kill it again by throwing it against a wall. But yeah, Dan seems to have moved on pretty quickly from that, and West demonstrates the reanimation process by bringing Rufus to life once more.
Oh, it's him!
Megan's like, Dan, what the fuck? And he's like, look, Megan, Wes can bring animals back to life. She's like, Dan, listen, I found out that in Switzerland, after Dr. Gruber died, Wes was doing things to his body for hours.
What?
No, not those things.
He was in psychiatric observation for months.
I tried to save him.
She's like, I'm telling Daddy what's going on here, but Dan says he wants to be the one to tell him.
Herbert West has effected reanimation in dead animal tissue. He brought back a dead animal, a cat, back to life.
Dean Halsey's like, okay, Dan, this is nonsense. Your student loan's being rescinded, and West is expelled. Megan tells Dan not to worry. She'll speak to her dad and get Dan his loan back, as long as he stays away from West. But Dan's like, no way. West is a genius. West says all they'll need to do is prove that his research is real. Then Dan will get his loan back, and he'll be allowed back in school. Dan's like, great, I'll get hold of another dead animal. But West tells him an animal's not going to cut it. They're going to need a dead human body. So Dan sneaks West into the morgue, and they look for a suitable corpse. Oh, here's one. So West injects it with the serum. Meanwhile, down the hall, Dean Halsey is asking people if they've seen Dan, and he's told he's at the morgue. The serum has worked and the dead body comes to life. It's more of a monster or zombie than a man as it starts attacking them and smashing stuff. But oh no, Dean Halsey is about to come in. The zombie breaks the doors down, starts throwing Dean Halsey around and shakes him to death, before West re-kills it with a bone saw. Sorry I can't show much of this, it's far too gruesome.
Ow.
West is like, okay, let's bring Dean Halsey back to life now. He won't be anything like that guy because he's only just died.
Yeah, right.
Dan's like, okay, fine. So West injects him with the serum. Unfortunately, it's not worked out and Dean Halsey starts attacking them. And oh no, Megan is coming in with a security guard. How are they going to explain this? West tells them that Dean Halsey came in, went crazy with the bone saw, and started attacking them.
Oh, come on. That's full.
When the police get there to investigate, they believe West's story, as the truth is even more ridiculous. So Dan and West get back to work. Oh yeah, West has started injecting himself with the serum so that he doesn't have to sleep. Apparently in smaller doses, it's just like Red Bull. Back at the hospital or wherever this is, Dean Halsey is now under the care of Dr. Hill, who needs Megan to sign a release so he can perform exploratory surgery on him. Megan agrees. Then he tries to shag her.
Boys will be boys.
But she's not up for that. When Dr. Hill starts his exploratory surgery, he comes to a chilling conclusion.
Dean Halsey is clearly dead.
Meanwhile, Dan is explaining to Megan what really happened to her dad.
No!
Yes.
Dr. Hill goes to see West in Dan's basement and tells him that he'll have him arrested for murder, unless West agrees to let him take all the credit for his research.
They will retire the Nobel Prize in my name.
He's like, don't worry though, West. You can be my assistant.
All right.
Megan has convinced Dan to turn himself into the police, but first, he's going to need proof that Dean Halsey is dead. West has decided that he's not happy to let Dr. Hill take the credit for all his hard work, so he knocks him out with a shovel and removes his head. Then he injects Dr. Hill's head and his body with the serum. When both parts come back to life, they work together to knock West out. When West wakes up, he notices that all his notes and the serum have been stolen.
Oh no!
Dan gets back home and asks West what happened with Dr. Hill.
I had to kill him!
He's dead? Not anymore.
Dan's like, we need to warn Megan, because Dr. Hill's always trying to shag her. So Dan races over to Megan's house. Somehow, Dr. Hill, whose head is still separate from his body, has managed to get past security at the morgue by wearing this.
That's absurd.
And he gets another dead body out. He's managed to get Dean Halsey to go home, knock Dan and Megan out, and bring an unconscious Megan back to the morgue. Megan wakes up to find herself naked, tied up, being touched up by Dr. Hill's body, and stared at by his severed head. I can't show much of this, but Dr. Hill's body picks his head up and runs it along the good bits of Megan for it to lick it. Luckily, West and Dan have arrived just in time, and Dan covers Megan up so I can show more relevant clips. Oh, sorry, no I can't, because Dr. Hill has reanimated all these other corpses to grab West, Dan and Megan, most of which are naked. So you're going to have to take my word for it that when Dr. Hill is about to lobotomize West, Megan managed to get through to the zombie that was her dad, so he attacks Dr. Hill's body, then crushes his head. There's no way I can show the next part of this. Severe nudity, violence and gore prevents me from doing so. But Megan is strangled in this elevator by a naked zombie. Dan manages to chop the zombie's arms off, then get Megan to the operating table to be treated by doctors. Sadly, however, it's too late. They're unable to save her. But what's this? Dan gets the serum out of his bag. And that's the end of the film. Looks like we're going to have to wait for Re-Animator 2. So until next time. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe and check out this other video. Thank you.